The talking, nagging, lucha watching, puro viewing, indie supporting, drinking, cursing, son of a gun of a podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty and co-host Ike Isaacs as they talk wrestling and interview those within the business, bringing positivity back to pro wrestling. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. This is your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming back week after week to listen to the only professional wrestling podcast covering Midwest professional wrestling, past, present, and future. Thank you for telling your friends and sharing. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. How are you this week? I'm doing just peachy. Hopefully you are too. It's been a week since we had Kid Thunder on. The reception was good. Thank you for supporting that episode. Thank you for the shares. We have a good episode this week. We have Brian Blair on. And yes, Brian Blair does have roots in the Midwest. There is a connection there. You'll have to listen to the interview to see those. But before we get to that, let's go with our match of the week. We are suggesting this week, and I watched from September 7th, 1974, a match that pits The Sheik and Bobby Heenan against Dick the Bruiser and Bobo Brazil. This match was held in Chicago, Illinois. And, of course, this is a classic match. How could it not be with these four? If you were to make a Mount Rushmore of Midwest wrestling, it would be a hard-pressed argument for it to not be these four guys, and they're all here in one tag match. Great match, as expected. Lots of brawling, lots of Bobby Heenan flying around, taking insane bumps. Good stuff. Highly recommend it. You can find the link in our YouTube channel in the folder called Current Episode Videos. So go watch that match. Highly recommended. Before we go any further, then, let's also move on to our promo of the week. Just last week we did a quote from Dick the Bruiser. This week we have a whole little promo. We're going to try to expand this a little bit, do a little bit more. The promo this week is from 1974, or at least around 1974-75. Not sure on the exact date. The promo features Bob Luce and Mark Manson. If you do not know who Mark Manson is, go look him up. Do your research. He wrestled, mostly known as a manager, though. He managed the Graduates, Angelo Poffo, Ken Dillinger, later Mitsu Arakawa and Kim Duke. And that's around the time of this clip, is when he was managing Mitsu and Kim. And this is... Earlier, he did the Graduate gimmick with the cap and gown and everything. And this time, when he came back to manage these two, he was wearing a top hat and this and that. And he was carrying an infamous Voodoo Cane. And that's what this promo is. Luce questioning Manson about the Voodoo Cane. And this this whole thing is so over the top and so goofy. Literally, Luce and Manson cannot keep straight faces. They're laughing. They're cracking up. Pepper Gomez is in this clip, and he's just sitting there not doing anything. But we got the audio here for the clip. You can also, if you want to watch this clip, you can also, once again, find that in our current episode videos on YouTube on that playlist. But right now, let's hear the audio from the infamous Voodoo Cane promo with Mark Manson and Bob Luce from around 1974.
I feel that we're not alone. I'm serious. I am very concerned. You have brought something into pro wrestling that is going to cause a lot of disturbance.
Now look,
this cane is affecting my show. I don't even know whether I'm going to allow you to bring this cane on my show anymore. A Voodoo Cane has no place in wrestling.
Now look, hey, you went too far. If that cane don't come on the show, I don't come on the show, Luce. Just because I never hit anybody with it, you dream up all kinds of stories that there's something wrong with it, that it's possessed. Well, it's not. The only reason I haven't whacked anybody with this thing, one simple reason. I am a gentleman, a true gentleman. I don't have to go around swatting people with my cane. And it's not possessed. I don't care what you feel, what's happening to your mind when I bring this cane. Hey, baby, I'll never... Look, hey, Daddy. You better knock it off over there. I can't.
Hey,
now look, hey,
I'll bet that Cain. Hey, I'll bet
back
that
up,
Cain
Daddy.
can stand by itself.
Back up, Daddy.
Hey, I don't point that
Hey,
Cain
now
at me.
look.
I bet that Cain can stand by itself. Hey, I want to say one thing, Manson. I tell you, boy.
More than I can say for you. You
know,
can barely stand it for you. There he is, flat on his back. You shot your mouth off, Luce. You shouldn't have done it.
Get off of this show, Manson.
Great piece of Midwest wrestling history there. It was such a funny clip. So before we move on, before we take a break, let's tell you about some upcoming shows here in the Midwest that you must see. All of these shows, you can go every week and check out and support these promotions. Like IWA Mid-South every Thursday and Saturday in Memphis, Indiana. You can check out Rockstar Pro Wrestling every Wednesday in Dayton, Ohio. Ohio Valley Wrestling also every Wednesday in Louisville, Kentucky. And WCWO every Friday night in Indianapolis, Indiana. Get out there and support independent wrestling in your area, wherever you are. Look it up. There will be a show in your area. Check them out. Let's take a break, hear from one of our sponsors, and when we come back, we will have that great interview with one half of the Killer Bees, B. Brian Blair. So stick around. You've heard him here on the Dave Dynasty Show as a guest and as host of the monthly Graham's Gallery episodes. And now you can hear his stories. You can own a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler, the audio book from Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., former multi-tag team champion in WWA and owner of Bruiser Bedlam. You can hear all of his encounters with the various wrestlers, places, and promotions he's worked as he tells about his colorful, long, and illustrious career. You can have your own copy for only $25, and that includes shipping and handling. It's very simple. Go on Facebook, look up Jerry Jaffe, Jaffe, send him a private message, and make arrangements to purchase a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler now. You will not regret this purchase.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show.
I am so excited to be on the DaveDynasty.com, the Dave Dynasty Show wrestling podcast this evening as I'm coming from Tampa, Florida, live from the Hive, where Irma didn't wipe us out because I had too many buzzing brothers that got together and sisters, misters and sisters, and we got together and took care of each other and all was cool.
That sounds fantastic. First of all, glad to hear you're safe down there. That's what we like to hear here. So, as you know, and as other fans know, here on the Dave Dynasty Show, we typically focus on Midwest wrestlers.
Absolutely.
But most people don't know your ties to the Midwest. You were born in Gary, Indiana, is that correct?
Oh, wow. That's,
When did you leave
I was in Gary, Indiana, which is not, all my friends, I didn't know, I was colorblind when I was young, actually. My best friends are all black. I mean, Gary, Indiana's, when I was growing up, I didn't hardly know only my brothers and sisters. My friends were of color or even, I had some Hispanic friends and I had one white friend, Billy Kopinski, down the street. But it was great. You think about your formative years until you're like almost 11 years old. I mean, you learn a lot of stuff. And especially when you're on the streets, my mom and dad, I've got 4 younger siblings and I grew up very tough. And then moving to Florida, my dad was a union carpenter and he moved to Florida. And when he did, he was kind of cool. Everybody was excited. Wow, we had a cool house with orange trees. Never saw an orange tree in my life. And, things went on. It was great. Loved school. I never knew my mom and dad were in any kind of a disagreement, but we seemed to start moving from place to place and place to place. And all of a sudden I didn't see my dad around. And, I used to always want to go across the street it was more than across the street. It was like half a mile and walk to the grocery store on my own. I don't know how old I was, 8, 9, 10 years old. And my mom wouldn't let me. And I was tired of this. Was coming in a while as I wanted to go to that grocery store on my own. I don't know why. Just like a grown-up thing. And all of a sudden, I remember we were getting powder days, really garbage food. And, it's great food. So, but it was stuff that I wasn't accustomed to. And so I said, Mom, I want some chicken. I was starting Superman. I was really wanted to, grow up and be something other than who I was or where I was at. And my mom said, hey, you want to go to the store one day out of the clear blue? And I said, yeah, Mom, really, I can go to the store. And I don't know where my dad was. Again, the union went on strike. My parents weren't get wrong. I didn't know that. And I went to, she said, yeah, go to the store. Gave me a list. I'm waiting for the money. She hands me some coupons. I didn't know what the coupons were. She just said, go. I was so happy because, I could get some chicken. There was chicken and hamburger. I remember that chicken and hamburger, which I kept begging her for some. And, so when you're a boy, aspired to be an athlete and don't have any money, you're looking for direction, and all of a sudden I get busted in line. I just was very careful about making sure I was articulate about not spending all my mom's coupons. She called it a coupon. All the coupon money. And so I watched the cash register. They didn't have computers, so it was cash register. And there was these three really, it's not politically correct, but they were freaking redneck. And excuse my French, but they were picking on me, man. I don't like bullies. And at that time, they were big-time bullies. One of them turned out to be a Hillsborough County sheriff. And anyway, we became friends later. It was no big deal to them at the time, but it was a huge deal in my life because it changed my whole life around. It's a deeper story. I'd rather start talking about some wrestling stuff because I'd rather talk about some up stuff. Jack Briscoe just fell on me. I'm around this wonderful setting of memories. Right. I mean, I can talk to you about any wrestler. I'm one of the few people, Dave Dynasty and Isaac, Mr. Isaac, one of the few people that could really tell you about the era in which I think is incredible, the late 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. I mean, all the way even up till today. I was at the I worked at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, West Briscoe, and maybe it's that concussion that we call it CST or CTS, whatever. I'm just kidding. I didn't sue Vince, even though I do have that sometimes. I did have 4 concussions and a lot of chair shots and all that kind of stuff. And I played football too, so it's not all Vince's fault. You gotta say that. So no matter what, you gotta be honest about things. So anyway, where was I going with that? Too much stuff. And when I look around, the setting that I'm in here in the Hive in Tampa, Florida, I think about all these great people that inspired me to be a professional wrestler, that inspired me to make something of my life when they came to film here in Championship Wrestling from Florida. It came to my school when I was young, and excuse me. Very, very interesting. So I started, you asked me when I started sports, what sports did I play? I started at East Lake Elementary, where I became the first heavyweight Hillsborough County champion with all the middle schools, junior high schools, depends on where you're at, what you call them. This was like 7th, 8th, 9th. I don't know what they are now. They all changed. My kids were different than I was. But I beat a guy named Ronald Reddick, who was about 282 pounds, and I was 210 pounds, maybe. Not even that. In junior high school, played football. They didn't have a whole lot of honors, but I started both ways and on all the specialty teams, just like, then I went to high school and started both ways and on all the specialty teams, and then I started wrestling at the same time and playing track and baseball and just escaping from my environment, driving my little Yamaha 200 from 10th grade, 12 miles, all the 10th grade to high school, just playing sports getting into the books. I was going to go to, my parents were already divorced, and we were just moving from place to place, and I moved out on my own, and after Webb Junior High School then, in Town and Country, which is part of Hillsborough County, part of actually the city of Tampa. Hillsborough County is larger than the city of Tampa. There's also Plant City, Hillsborough. So, the Tampa Bay Tech High School kept recruiting me, even though I was in Lato's district. And Barry Schallenberger, back then, 10th grade, high school was 10th grade, and Barry Schallenberger was a head coach for Eastern Kentucky University, the head baseball coach. He became both baseball and football coach at Tampa Bay Tech High School. And since it was a technical school, they could recruit you. So Lato, all my buddies from Webb, the guys I was playing football with, knocking heads with, the guys from Pierce, junior high school in Hillsborough County, that's relative to us here at the Hive. So we wound up, I went to another school. I went to Tampa Bay Tech, and my buddies went to Lato or Jefferson High School, and from there I was going to go to the University of Tampa, and we were being recruited, and Tampa U wound up folding football anyway in 75. So I wound up going to St. Leo College later, then got a scholarship to the University of Louisville. St. Leo was a great club football team. I mean, we played the Blue Devils, Duke, and all the JV teams from the Southeast. It was great. Not all of them, but a dozen of them, or 10 of them. Excuse me. So from there, it was wrestling. The dungeon in Tampa, Florida, with Hiro Matsuda. The amazing thing is when you go through that kind of training to get into a business that you only dreamed of, to have heroes that went from Superman to Jack Briscoe, just that whole life, and then to be able, all of a sudden now you get a chance to do it, and you go into Matsuda's dungeon, and let me tell you, my friends, it was not easy at all. And many came and many went, and I sweated it out and went back to school for 3 months, mind you, 5 days a week for 3 months, during 2.5 months, maybe, no less than 2.5 months. However, I stayed for the Kentucky Derby at Louisville, and then came home right after May, and then I just trained until we went back to school in September. Anyway, it was great. And when I got in there, the first time I was in the ring with Matsuda, when Buddy Colt and the Briscoes and Eddie Graham and these people all had confidence in me, especially Buddy Colt, who I babysat for his children. He had 2 little girls, and I wound up actually babysitting for Fred Ottman's daughter, Tugboat, and for his ex-wife, excuse me, his daughter, a couple other people from the family. I don't want to get that close. So, it was all good, and I fought through the school and made it. And I think out of the 3 summers that I trained, Orndorff made it first. Then the 3rd summer, I graduated, had my first match on television from the Armory and Sportorium, and from there, Hulk Hogan. I left the territory, and then Terry broke in, and I think he went to Pensacola, Hulk Hogan, and a lot of people came and left without their trunks. Boom, and Flash then developed a wonderful career from territory to territory to territory. And when I mean territory, from Florida, where you work 7 days a week. You'd start out, let's start first day. Sunday night, you'd be in Eddie Graham Sportatorium, or a double shot every other week, Ocala at the High Life Rontown at 1 o'clock, Sportatorium 8 o'clock. Monday night was West Palm Beach or a South Florida show. Tuesday night was always the Armory in Tampa. Famous. That's what built Championship Wrestling from Florida, along with Gordon Soley and the Luttrells before then, the Cowboy Luttrells and his brother, the Fullers. There's a bit rich history with a lot of people. And then Eddie Graham took over, and of course he always had partners, but he was the boss. And a lot of people thought Gordon Soley was the boss, but Gordon Soley was the face of Championship Wrestling from Florida. I mean, he was the best. He was the dean of announcers. And WTOG 44, I turned that on, and it was like magic. And that's what it drew. It just lured you in so much. So fast forward, then we all break in, go our separate ways, go to the territories. Different territories. Of course, Florida is different from Texas. It's different from Mid-South. It's different from Georgia, TBS, Sky Channel. Biggest buzz in the nation at that time, to the WWF, to the Midwest, to Iowa and Kansas, and being booked out of the Kansas City territory. I was, in the Midwest. I've wrestled in Indiana many a times. It's a wonderful state. I love the Hoosier State. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana for Jason Maples, and that is Saturday the 9th of November. I'm going off memory right now.
Absolutely. So, I mean, let me just jump in real quick if you don't mind. I mean, you just went over a bunch. I mean, you're talking about all these different territories and such. But if you don't mind, I'm asking you a couple questions about some specific stuff. So you mentioned you were talking about working in the Central States, Tri-State, and World Class, and you kind of went over those a little bit. But a couple things about that, or after that, you shortly after you worked a WWF Tour of Japan. Is that correct?
Was that 1981? My first tour was with Vince Theater.
Okay. And then looks like, but you, if you're not mistaken, is that the one where you worked a couple of different guys, but you worked guys like Antonio Inoki, Tatsumi Fujinami? Was that your? Okay.
Yes, and Sakaguchi-san.
Well, what was that tour of Japan like? What was that about?
It was amazing. I mean, I knew that, they trained me to where the people knew that I could take care of myself. Everybody knew that. There was no doubts. I mean, believe me, I had a lot of fights, and a lot of people saw that, and I never started one. And from the Sportatorium, when I was the guy that they sicked on people, and I didn't like to do that. I mean, it's just that, when somebody calls you a fake asshole, MFer, and you ask them, well, then would you like to, try one of the guys that's not even wrestling yet? He just wants to be a wrestler. He's not a Dusty Rhodes. He's not a Jack Briscoe, Jerry Briscoe. He's just a jabroni. If you beat him, you can have a match. So they could throw him in you like, it was like I don't know, maybe ways that they break in guys in MMA that are smart Alex, the same way, they deal with them, because that's what we learned, was how to hook and stretch and punch and take care of ourselves. And it was an amazing 3 summers of my life that taught me a lot, besides where I came from, and working out and continually working out and dieting and making weights, and had a lot of discipline and a lot of desire and a lot of dedication. And that, from there morphed into business, after a successful wrestling career. And we could talk about the whole good time, going from when you're on stage in WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, I was at WrestleMania 5, and that's a long story. I gave my notice, and I didn't want to do it. It's a long story right there. But then go on and persevere and start one Gold's Gym and morph that into. I had built four Gold's Gyms, and I had. Oh my gosh! I saw the numbers going off memory. We had I want to say 12,000 members between the four clubs, 12,000, but we had 200 plus thousands over the 10 years, more than that, of members who had come, gone, and I'm talking about from monthly. People that come for a month, people that come for 3 months. We have a lot of snowbirds, people that came back and forth, but we had a great loyal base, and we made a very successful licensee, and the licensee is not the same as a franchise. A licensee is like, or a franchise is like, if you have a McDonald's or Tokyo, you got to have a Big Mac, exactly like a Big Mac. A licensee only has minimum standards. You would have minimum of $250,000 worth of equipment for, say, maybe $10,000 licensee fee. Anything you bought for Gold's Gym had to be bought for Gold's Gym corporate. Anything with the logo, registration, trademark, anything like that. Your letters had to be perfect. You had to have X amount of square feet. It was big time business, and it was a multi-million-dollar business that I morphed it into. And when I sold it, the gyms weren't for sale, so they were very successful for my family and I. And my family is extremely important to me. I love my family. My wife, she doesn't like wrestling. She wants to stay away from it. She doesn't want her name mentioned. She doesn't want anything to do, period, with the business. And my kids, they, don't want anything to do with that or politics. But they're both contact sports, and they're difficult, and there's a lot of things that go with them. So, but we're all very blessed, very happy, very, very thankful, and just love helping people at the Cauliflower Alley Club. That's what I love.
And if you don't mind, as I know we're talk about that, but let me kind of mind if I can rewind just a little bit. You've done quite a bit, obviously. I mean, you've done so much. I mean, we're just talking about over the course of your lifetime, and of course, you still got more time left. So, I mean, it's crazy to think what else you're going to be able to do. But if you don't mind rewinding a little bit with me, you did these tours of Japan. You've wrestled pretty much, I would venture to guess, most everywhere in the United States, and a lot of places outside of the United States. But one return that you did return to the WWF for a while and began a run a while back, and probably your most known run. One of the things you're well known for is you teamed up with Jim Brunzell as the Killer Bees. That was actually a personal favorite of mine. How did the team come together, and who came up with the name? That was my question.
Well, I love Jimmy Brunzell, and he's like a brother from another mother, and him and I, we've been, Jimmy and I have been from Maine to Spain, deep down in the Ukraine. We've literally been not only every state and that's a fact, Jack, not only every city, over 200,000 people, United States of America. Think about it. But we've been from Maine to Spain, deep down in the Ukraine, from ocean, coast to coast. We've been north, south, east, and west. And I'm still wondering if we'll ever see the best. But you know what? DaveDynasty.com, I'm with you guys.
But let me ask you, you said that, that was some of the best time, with you and Jim. But how did that team come together, if you don't mind me asking? Who came up with that name? Because that was iconic,
It was a great, I was on top in Florida, a Florida title. Sorry, Eddie Graham was the greatest mind in the business. I had a few different, but I had been the two-time Florida heavyweight champion, which is the top of the top here, heavyweight champion, which doesn't come in that often, but when it does, that's the biggest. And then Florida tag team titles. I've been the Southern heavyweight champion, which is was a huge title in Florida. And, the end there, towards the end, when we saw the people were starting to see the writing, I'm getting really nervous and it wasn't cool. Things weren't good, even though we were doing good business. But I had been to Georgia when cable TV first started, and we went into Columbus, and I knew the whole deal, pretty good. And being close to the Briscoe brothers, who were owners of TBS, and then USA with Vince. It was or not USA with Vince, but in the middle, that was either going to make or break story all in itself. That TBS USA swap, television swap that Vince wound up procuring TBS, got financial problems, selling back. It's a long story. It was just interesting. Actually, real dynamic is the difference between Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. going up there. But the Killer Bees came because Jim Blundell was very good with Greg Gagne in the AWA. Vince McMahon has already stole Vern Gagne's jewel, Hulk Hogan. Wrestlemania One had taken place, very successful. Roddy Piper, Mr. T, Orndorff, you know the deal. So Vince wanted to create a tag team, and Terry was his right-hand dude, Hulkster. They were like peanut butter and jelly. And of course, you had Pat Patterson there, and you had Chief Jay Strongbow and Blackjack Alonzo, and on down the line. And you had, never forget George Scott, who came up with WrestleMania. He was there. George and Vince promised us the belts 3 different times during our run there. But Terry knew that I had literally with Al Madrill in Texas, with Bulldog Bob, excuse me, I love, God bless you, rest in peace, Bob. Went to actually coach with Kim Tabalu on the island of Saba with Bob and his son would remember that. The Nasty Boys were on the tour. That's a classic tour. And that was after Vince. It had so many classic tours after Vince. It's amazing that people don't even realize. I mean, just classic tours in so many different countries. I mean, India, Russia, just on and on and on. Singapore, Malaysia. I mean, buy a Killer Bee t-shirt and look at the front and then get the 2-sided one with the back, and you'll see all the countries that Killer Bees have buzzed in. So we got to Hamilton. Terry called up. Only shot I ever missed in wrestling. I was on top with Rick Rude in West Palm Beach. The crowd was sold out. This was my last week. I got a flat tire just maybe 12 miles, 15 miles out of Tampa, and I've got to go like 200 and some miles. I don't know. The WWF was calling me, and I didn't know what was happening on the other end. I didn't know, we didn't really have an emergency call. I could have called one of the boys, I guess, but my mind was on the WWF, I have to say. So I left Florida. Time missed. Mike Graham was upset because it was sold out, totally sold out, with Rick Rude and for the Florida heavyweight title. I had already dropped the title, so I didn't screw anybody. And so I went to, we had to meet in Brantford, Ontario. Vince already knew me. I already worked there and was very successful. I had some tremendous matches with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Oh, just all kinds of matches with different people. Dr. D. David Schultz. Oh, just lots of matches. Really good. Tony Gurria and I were tag team partners. I had a really good experience. Vince Sr. really liked me. I liked him. I like Junior. Always have. I think Vince Jr. I've never really, other than Vince calling him Caesar, that's his nickname, and he's like Caesar. He wants to be the emperor, and that's what he's accomplished his goal. What can I say? Maybe he could be nicer, but everybody marches to a different beat. I'm a humble guy. I appreciate everybody. I don't care what political persuasion you are. I don't care who you are. I respect everybody. Whether you're fat, skinny, tall, short, pit bulls, whatever you call it, whatever your sexual situation, I don't care who you are. I appreciate people, and that's just the way it is. I like people, and until you give me a reason not to like you, I'll like you. So we got together in Brantford. I mentioned Jim was the high flyer AWA World Heavyweight Champion, already a seasoned, tremendous tag team wrestler. And so we got together in Brantford, and George Scott came up to us, and this was all because of Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea putting us together, and he had the idea, and Vince trusting in me and trusting in Terry, and knowing Jimmy, because you had to be a little careful then, you know, because Vern Gagne, Jimmy was like Vern's boy, and along with Greg, obviously his son. Jimmy started there. Don't know. So, but Terry, again, taught Vince into trusting him, and Jimmy was honest, and he always has been honest. He's a good guy, really good guy. So, we met each other. It was great. We're in Brantford, Ontario. George Scott comes up and says, "Hey, you guys could be on in like 45 minutes. We need a name for you." I hate to say that makes you sound stupid. I always tell people, don't ever say and then when I hear them I say I say, yeah, it's getting late. So Jim and I would talk to George Scott. George Scott said we need a tag team. Vince wants a name, and you guys got to be on in 45 minutes and think of something. Well, so he left, and, you know, we started talking. I don't remember the whole conversation, but I brought up the Miami Dolphins and the Killer Bees defense. Since we had Blair and Brunzella, how about the Bees, the Killer Bees? And Jimmy said, Bees, I like it. I think it's good. And Randy Poffo was listening. George Scott comes back up to us, and he hadn't even left the room yet. And we said, how about the Killer Bees? Remember that defense from the Dolphins in 72? It's history. You got to go back and look in the books. But they were undefeated. They were undefeated through the Super Bowl. Only team to do so. And their defense was about Connie. Anyway, the linebackers were all bees. They called them the Killer Bees, and they were like a swarm together. I mean, they were a swarming linebacking core. And obviously the best of their day, the Killer Bees, Miami Dolphins, 72, undefeated. Not like the NFL today, bunch of pussies. We'll get into that. Anyway, I am political. So, George Scott loved it. Danny Poffo was sitting next to us. It was the Killer Bees, I like it. Well, he went back to Vince first. Jimmy and I were like freaked out. Wow, look at those tights. They're black and yellow. Killer Bees. Anyway, that's where it came from, and that's the long story.
Eventually, though, you know, after that, you know, things do kind of go away over time, but eventually you did end up leaving the WWF. What kind of caused you to leave the WWF and venture into the other facets of professional wrestling?
Yeah, the other facets of professional wrestling. I wish that was as documented as the WWF now is, because the independents were so hot then because the tape was a year and 2 years behind in places. So we were like fresh all over the world, and it was just great. It was just awesome. Incredible. And now today, I mean, Jimmy and I were just at the Hamilton Comic Con. We're in Indiana, like we just said. We've been a lot of places all year together. Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Iowa, just all of them. Too many places. So, and I have more places in between, a lot more Comic Cons, all kinds of stuff. So there's still life within the Killer Bees, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm grateful for Jimmy, who was a tremendous partner, and can't wait to see him again. I love my community, my county, my state, this country we live in. And I believe in it, and I believe in people, and I believe that anybody can be with a lot of food. And they got to just buzz. They got the buzz, and they got the sting, and they got the believe.
Let me ask you this, because obviously this might be a little off topic, but I mean, you talk a lot about, you know, you're still doing stuff today, and you still are continuing on in what you've been doing. But like you said, I mean, you're the independence is a fantastic business. It's absolutely amazing. But something I found interesting is you still compete on occasion, even up until the last year, I believe. So what do you attribute your ability to still compete to? Like, how can you still do so?
Yeah, I just did with my big buddy in Iowa. Oh wow, Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, look up the date. Peterson, Troy Peterson. You know. So anyway, it's the first time in my life ever I have never heard of this in my life. 6,000 plus wrestling matches. I lost count at 5,000 in years. So, I go to tie up with this guy. And the tie up, nobody's ever been injured. Now you gotta remember, this is a split second. The lights are flashing, the house is full. I go to tie up with him, the crowd's hot. And he's intimidated for some reason. I don't know what. I just don't know what it was. Green is all you could say, but you never tie up with your head down because you can't see where you're going. So as I'm looking to see him eye to eye, I see the top of his scalp, and all of a sudden, bam! My eye was like, oh man, somebody just sucker punched me. And his fist and his nails, he had long nails, went into my eye and slid across the outside of my eye, cut my eye, bled, my eye was bleeding, and he also cut the eye, and I couldn't see out of my left eye, and I had never, I mean, I have so many injuries and so many operations. I mean, I've had so many injuries, you would have to see them to believe them, actually. The stitches and the stuff that the wonderful doctors in my life have done for me, because of things that happened, not necessarily, there were accidents, most of them, but some of them just, you know, things that happened. I mean, I had 3 operations on my knee and went to wrestle in Puerto Rico. It's on tape. And Brunzell and I, as the Killer Bees, were wrestling in the downpour in the stadium in San Juan. And I had just had a knee operation, my 3rd one, the arthroscopic one, 3 days earlier. And it was so slippery. I've never stepped on anything so slippery in my life, ever. I mean, ever. And that was, so you get beat up. Yeah. Anyway, you know, that turned into a knee replacement. But that was over 10 years ago. You know, guys get so many injuries. I mean, it's amazing. The operations that guys go through, you know, in all sports, it's like that. But, I've got some extra ones to thank. It's a long story. But, with that said, this has been a great conversation, Isaac. Why don't they call it the Isaac Show?
Right. Yeah, I wish. I don't think Dave pays me enough to do that, though.
Well, where's Dave at?
He is at home in his bed, I would imagine.
Wow. DynastyDave.com, and Isaac's doing all the work. What do you think about that, guys? I mean, your followers must be very, very loyal, and I appreciate them. And I usually don't have this much time, and, you know, I do big shows, but I like everybody, and I appreciate every wrestling fan. And it's been my motto to wrestle as hard as I can, whether there was 60 fans or 60,000 fans. I mean, it didn't matter. And it's the same way. Love everybody. I wish everybody health and happiness. And wow, man, just make sure your pollen's full and you polish up that stinger. Listen to DynastyDave.com. Oh, yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate it, Brian. Well, before we let you go, I just want to make sure you get as much plugs as you need. So do you have social medias, anything else people can follow you and follow your career?
Absolutely. They can go to B1B on Twitter. They can, I'm also on LinkedIn. On Facebook, either the Killer Bees, B. Brian Blair. Why did I cut you off at 5,000 followers? I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not the greatest techie guy, but I try to answer everybody, and even if it takes me a little while, I eventually get to everybody. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the wrestling fans, and I appreciate the Cauliflower Alley Club. Go to caulifloweralleyclub.org, and learn how you can get involved. The Cauliflower Alley Club is the greatest. That's what my life's all about right now. And for $25 a year, you get more than that. Just in the newsletters are incredible. They're not on the internet. You can't get them. You got to be one of our 1,000 members, and you've got to. No, that's not overseas either. But anyway, we're a great club. We have hundreds of active wrestlers, retired wrestlers, and only nice people. That's all we allow. Our wrestling, our CAC members that are fans and friends, they are just nice people. So, but you can join if you're a nice person. Just go to caulifloweralleyclub.org, and again, for $25, I mean, we help people. 100% of them. I can't say 100% because there's some business costs, but I mean, for example, I pay my own airfare. I pay my own food, my own. When I go to the hotel, I pay for my base hotel, and I get an upgraded room is the only thing I get, but I pay my own banquet ticket, which is only $125, by the way, but I still pay for it, just like every other board member does. I mean, all of our board members, Morgan Dollar, our executive vice president, we have, Carl Lauer for 26 years held up the Cauliflower Alley Club. We got David Buckler, Gloria, Royal Duncan from Duncan Publishing that publishes all those wonderful magazines. Bambi Weevil helps us with our social media, and then Matt Riviera helps us out with new wrestling promotions, procurements, and Ron Hutchison puts together from Canada, puts together all of our seminars. And our team is it's great. It's Dean Silverstone, our treasurer, has been with the club for one of the longest, next to Carl Lauer. And I mean, Dick Beyer, remember the Super Destroyer, the Destroyer. Japan. I mean, he was synonymous with Japan. Dick Beyer, the Destroyer, man, he was big, and he's our long member. But we just raise money to help all the wrestlers that have fallen on difficult financial times, and we give away a lot of money to a lot of great people. And our reunion is April 30th to May 2nd of 2018, obviously, and you can go to caulifloweralleyclub.org and get all the information. I mean, there's matches 2 days before. You've got the Hoover Dam. You've got the Grand Canyon, all within, hour and a half at the max driving time, even less. And there's just some fabulous other things, from cribbage tournaments to bowling tournaments. It's just an event. It's a happening. That's why this is the 53rd reunion of the Cauliflower Alley Club. It's tremendous. It's awesome. It's off the chart. You have got to go to caulifloweralleyclub.org and join. I mean, for $25, come on, you get more than that. And you're helping somebody. I mean, all the money goes to help the people. Every dime that can possibly go to them goes to them. So, the people that you loved and cheered, and I love and cheered, the people that you would never think made millions of dollars, fall on hard times, either through disease, divorce, diabetes. I mean, they met Bernie Madoff. All kinds of things happen. But, let's make their life a little bit sweeter when they're so down. And
that's absolutely true. So you guys heard it here. You have all the information you could possibly need. Go see Brian on Facebook. Go see him on Twitter. Go see him on all these different places. And he's right. Follow Cauliflower Alley Club. Go look at this stuff because it is for a good cause. These people, like you said, these people entertained us for years. We need to give back. But Brian, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. Like I said, you're a little off the beaten path for our usual interviews, but you've been absolutely amazing, and you've given us so much amazing stories to listen to. So I do thank you so much for that.
Oh, absolutely, Israel. I could have talked about Dick the Bruiser and all the guys that were famous up in the Midwest, because I know all the guys, man. It's amazing. But thanks again. I have to catch you on the next episode, but in the meantime, all the best to everybody, health and happiness, and thanks for considering the Cauliflower Alley Club, and thank you so much for supporting my career. It means the world to my family, and I'm just we're just grateful. Thank you so much.
Come crack open a cold one and let Old Mancer tell you a story.
King of Big Dog Style, Laird's and Light Beer, the King of the Trailer Court, your favorite wrestler of mine, me.
This is Warner's Wisdom with Mance Warner.
All right, people, here we go. Old Mancer back on this here again on the podcast. King of Big Dog Style, Laird's and Light Beer, Wackadoo, King of the Trailer Court, Old Mancer, Laird's and Light Beer, King of Big Dog Style. Hey, did I say all that? Did I get them in there? The Southern Psycho, Master of the Pop-Up Headbutt, King of the Trailer Court, knee pad up, dramatic pause, knee pad down. Old Mancer right here. I said it, I think two times on some of those there. Said it a couple of times right here on another edition of Warner's Wisdom out here on the Dave Dynasty Show. Oh, look, Old Mancer found some money right here. That's always a good day. Hit the pay window, people. It's what y'all got to do out there. Hit them pay windows. Make them towns. Now, on this edition right here, Old Mancer going to keep it short, sweet, and simple. Get right to the point. I go on tangents. I run off. I get all sidetracked. I can't help it. I throw my money down right now before I start counting it. Okay. Right here on the Dave Dynasty Show, the best part of the Dave Dynasty Show, Old Mancer Part, baby. Another edition of Warner Wisdom. On this occasion, on this edition, I'm going to drop a little knowledge on you, some wisdom. Y'all can choose to take it. Y'all cannot listen. You can keep it. Whatever you want to do with it, that's on you. Now, let me get my cheap plug in here real quick. Go on over to Pro Wrestling Tees. Find yourself an Old Mancer t-shirt, baby. You give him a black, you give him a tank top. It was pretty hot outside today. Y'all could have rocked a beautiful Laird's and Light Beer tank top if you wanted to before it gets too cold. Then if it gets cold, you can go ahead and get a t-shirt. You could throw a long sleeve underneath it. Maybe some of that cool Under Armour everyone be wearing out there. I don't know. Y'all make the choice right there. Now, Old Mancer got my cheap plug in there for ProWrestlingTees.com. Go over and buy a t-shirt. Now on to the wisdom right here. Let me walk you through Old Mancer's day, baby. Okay? Old Mancer is in his beautiful truck driving down the road. I'm hitting all the red lights. Hitting every one of them. Starting to lose my cool, right? A dude then proceeds to cut me off in a little tiny car. I don't know what it was. It looked like a new foreign vehicle. Maybe one of them smart cars. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that is or what a smartphone is, to be honest with you. I got me a phone. I know what I need to do for the podcast. I know what I need to do for the bookends and all that. But other than that, I don't know what to do with this thing. Now, anywho, I get cut off by a vehicle, hitting all these red lights. I start to lose my mind. I'm going to be honest. Old Mancer started to lose his mind. Started to get angry. My blood was boiling. I got super upset, super mad. Old Mancer started cussing and yelling. I done hit something on here. All right, sorry there, people. You know how Old Mancer does. I don't know how to use this thing. Sometimes I hit the wrong button on there. Anywho, the car cuts me off. Old Mancer screaming, he cussing and yelling. I start losing my cool. Now, I'm going to explain to y'all what y'all need to do if y'all lose your mind, lose your cool, so you don't go getting arrested and get locked up, getting thrown in the slammer like Old Mancer was a little bit ago. Now, this is what y'all gotta do. Listen to me here. Started losing my cool. I recognized I was losing my cool. That's the first thing you need to do. You recognize, oh God, I'm losing my mind. I'm starting to get angry. What I gotta do? Boom. Then you start slowing it down right there. Something that I do when I'm in my truck and I start losing my mind. Someone flip me the bird. They're yelling. They ain't paying attention. They're on their phone. They're tweeting or texting or Instagramming or whatever it may be. They ain't watching the road. They almost wreck into me, right? Old Mancer, first you gotta recognize, then I like to turn the air on. The highest setting. Almost like a cooler up in there. Boom. It's the only way I could cool my blood down, cause my blood's boiling. It's heated up. I'm losing my mind. Cause if I don't use these, I call them my coping skills. If I don't use my coping skills, old master will lose my mind. I get locked up. I pull over on the side of the road, jump out my beautiful truck. I hit knee pad up. Dramatic pause, dramatic pause, dramatic pause. Knee pad down, I go running and knee a guy right in the head, right? Or maybe someone come running at me, I chuck him up in there, hit a big old pop-up headbutt on him. Throw him in a dragon sleeper, hit a big old boot on him. I don't know at that point. That's why I'm telling y'all about the coping skills right here, right? Oh, that's your coping skills. Write this down and follow me on it here. It's going to keep you out of trouble. Boom. Turn the AC all the way up. Get it cold in there. Get it nice and cold. Cool my blood down. I gotta start thinking. I gotta recognize this situation, because if not, old master gonna lose his mind and I'm gonna commit me a felony. I'm gonna get in trouble. So, boom. You gotta realize what you're doing. You gotta get your mind off of what's occurring at the moment. You gotta get your mind on something else. Me, I get my mind on the pay window and making them towns, baby. Because if I'm locked up, old master can't make the towns. I can't hit the pay window. Now, boom. You recognized it, cooled yourself down, thought about something else. Maybe you start counting, man. If old master does the counting, I got to count to about 100, right? And in between each one, I go 1, dramatic pause, 2, dramatic pause, 3, dramatic pause, 4, dramatic pause, 5, dramatic pause. Now I'm going to count all the way to 100 and I'm going to say dramatic pause in each one. This podcast is going to be about 35 minutes long. I'm just kidding. I ain't going to do that. Now, see what I'm saying though? Y'all got to follow me here on that. You got to do them counting. You got to go 1, dramatic pause, and get all the way up there wherever you got to get to. I get to about 100. By then, I ain't going to kill nobody no more. Right? That's just what old master got to do, baby. Now, write that down. Go find a notebook right now and say the old master taught you Mancer's coping skills, baby. If you don't use them coping skills, you're going to keep getting in trouble. You're going to keep getting locked up. You're going to keep getting, well, I can tell you what you ain't going to get. You ain't going to get to the pay window. You ain't going to get the W, and you ain't going to make the next time. You got to cool them jets, baby. Old master is giving y'all wisdom right here. Y'all got to take it in, soak it in, into your brain up there, and then use it, baby. Because if you don't, you just wasting time. Now, old master gonna get off here. I got me some light beers in the fridge. I think I got 12 of them. Old master gonna take them light beers. And like I was saying before, I ain't gonna say what light beers it is. I'm looking at them right now. Tall boys in there. Just wait for old master to pop them on open now. Here's the deal. I ain't gonna put over the light beers until the light beer company starts giving me free light beers, baby. Give me a little money, man. You give me the money, I'll put you over on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on the YouTuber, on the, what's the other one? I always forget that one. The iTunes, right? All that deal. I put you over on there. Tell Meltzer, man, give me them light beers, baby. Now, okay. I'm gonna get off here. Y'all had a good week. Ain't gonna be as good as old Masters, but what can I say? Can't be all like old Master. That's just the way it is. I'm going to get off here, pop these light beers and hit the road, y'all. Remember, Master's coping skills. 1, dramatic pause. 2, dramatic pause. 3, dramatic pause. 4, dramatic pause. Write it down, dummies.
Hey, Dave Dynasty here for the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You know, I've spent years in the wrestling business, from wrestler to promoter, and now as host of the Dave Dynasty Show. And I know that solid training from an experienced instructor is mandatory, and that is what you'll get at the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling. Not only instruction from former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Wildfire Rich, but many other big-name wrestlers, managers, and referees that will come in as guests. The Tommy Rich School of Wrestling will provide in-ring training and personal character training, with all practices recorded on high-definition cameras. They have over 2 tons of weightlifting equipment, tanning beds. It's all in an indoor sports facility that will host monthly wrestling events that will bring in big names to ensure that you, as a beginning student, can get seen. This school has it all. For anyone interested in proper training, contact the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling at 843-691-9205, and you will immediately be on your way to a profession in the wrestling business. Once again, call the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at 843-691-9205. And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. This is your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you to Brian Blair for coming on, chatting with us. What a great interview, right? We didn't even have to prompt him with very many questions at all. He was just telling story after story. What a great talker. What a great representative for professional wrestling. Check out the Cauliflower Alley Club at caulifloweralleyclub.org. Support that organization and everything they do. Just a little bit of money on your part means such a great deal for so many others. So support, in your quest to support wrestling, support the Cauliflower Alley Club. Coming soon on the Dave Dynasty Show, we will have that Rise of the WWA special episode with Richard Vicek. I know we've been promising it for probably months now. I don't even know. And one thing's led to another. It's made it difficult, but we will be getting that recorded soon and make that available for you. And also, the second episode of Graham's Gallery with Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. Will be also coming soon. Speaking of the good doctor, go out and buy his audiobook. You heard the commercial earlier in the program. I highly suggest you go order that. $25 shipped. Contact Jerry Jaffe. That is the good doctor on Facebook. He will set you up. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. And make sure you check us out on all of our social media outlets. You can go to davedynasty.com. There are links there at the top to everything. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. And we are on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Not only can you see our weekly podcast here, but there are YouTube exclusives. There is the playlist with matches and promos and interviews and such that tie into the current week's episodes. Plus, we have a great collection of classic professional wrestling up on there, including old WWA, etc., etc. So make sure you subscribe to us there and support us. You can click the links. There's all kinds of links where you can and help us out, keep the show free. You can make a one-time donation to us through PayPal. Just at the PayPal me, Dave Dynasty, the Dave Dynasty, excuse me. And if you go to davedynasty.com, there are links there. You can click up to Patreon and make a reoccurring monthly contributions. We greatly appreciate that. Or if you want something in return, besides the weekly podcast that we give you, full of Midwest professional wrestling, you can go and click on the Pro Wrestling Tees link and order a shirt. Why not look classy? I highly suggest ordering the Midwest Express shirt. Support the movement. That helps us. And if you're going to shop at Amazon.com or HighSpots.com, click on those affiliate links at DaveDynasty.com. No additional charge to you. We get a little kickback. And again, it helps keep the show free for you every week because we are the podcast pulling the train known as the Midwest Express, supporting Midwest professional wrestling, past, present, and future. We appreciate your involvement and support and everything in that movement. So help us keep it free. Help us continue to support Midwest professional wrestling. And make sure you're supporting wrestling wherever you are in the world. Visit our sponsors and support them. The Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling and Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. Order his audiobook. We're out of time for this week, folks. Until next week, I am Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us. Be good, be safe, be independent, and keep on growing.